Welcome to the Chatting Chakras podcast, where we get our inspiration from chakras, yoga, art, and sacred space of friends. Here's your hosts ready to rock the rainbow with you, Christina Alexa, Lonnie Voivod, and Kate LeMay.
Well, good day, everybody. Welcome to Chatting Chakras, where today we're going to be talking about the Manipura chakra. Did I say that right, Christina?
Yes, of course.
Okay, great. Not always, of course. Sanskrit is my newest thing I'm trying to learn. And we are working today with Stillness, which I'm very excited about. And I can, if you're not watching this, you're missing that Lonnie has adorned herself with a beautiful scarf, and we have on our yellow necklaces. And Christina has kindly adorned herself with yellow Post-it notes to be prepared for the power. So she may be Lonnie has challenged her to take singular word notes on said Post-it notes. So by the end, we may have a review of what words made it to the final round of Stillness today.
I'm so excited about that.
I know,
part.
Lonnie
I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm trying to stay in the now, but
who are you, Lonnie? Why don't you introduce yourself?
Oh my God, I forgot to think about who I am. Well, I am Lonnie Voivod, and I am a summoner of the great beyond and playful inquisitor. That's it.
You're also a professional muse, and you have pens now that say that.
That's important to know. Thank you, Kate. Sometimes I forget about that part, but I do have these amazing pens. I don't know. Is that coming up backwards?
I don't know.
No, it's good. Yep. It's good.
Or like it looks backwards to me.
What's it say, Lonnie?
Good at, it says Lonnie Voivod, professional muse. Be kind, be helpful, spread love, choose levity with an exclamation point. I'm really trying to hold on to that one. That the gifts of the year of pandemic have shown me I'm just I really long for more lightness of being and laughter, and I realize laughter is like a contact sport, and we have not been in contact with people, right?
I love it. Okay.
Only Lonnie would say laughter's a contact sport.
Amen. And Miss Christina, will you say hello today? Thank you, Lonnie.
I am. I'm grateful for the clarity because I thought you said that even her pets say that she's a professional muse, but it was pens. So, and I do have one of those pens. So I am Christina Alexa, and I am a figment of Lonnie's imagination.
Ooh, this might be my new favorite one. I am Kate LeMay, and I am also just a figment of sweet Lonnie's imagination. I'm here to play with our muse. I love this idea. I actually recently just got to be in one of Lonnie's interpretive dance productions, which is now on the Facebook. It came from our scholarly journal, aka TikTok. We made a video about the spring ritual dance of Gen X women in New Hampshire that has been quite fun, So again, I'm excited to see what happens with our Post-it notes and the whim and whimsy of our beautiful professional muse today. A lot of power in this conversation. So,
and I would say your t-shirt, I'd like for you to just stronger together. It's a nice subliminal message.
And this is the YMCA of Greater Boston's pandemic shirt. And I got to help bring this to life. It didn't quite meet the fruition goals that we were thinking of in revenue, but I'm so glad we have the t-shirts as a little like token reminder of our strength during the pandemic. So thanks, Lonnie. I love that reference.
Kate, how do you access those shirts? How does one purchase one of those shirts?
You know what? I don't even know, because they were made for 2020, right? So they have the whole face on them. So let me see if I can rally up a couple. And if anyone is interested in purchasing these Stronger Together shirts with 2020's numbers on the back. And this was made way early in the pandemic. We ending up serving over 4 million meals, but on the back of the t-shirt it says 1 million meals. That tells you like
Wow.
what had happened, right? So I mean, of course, do I not love the rainbow and Stronger Together? So I knew it would be a big fan favorite in our community and with you too. So let me see if I can rally up some shirts. Yeah.
And Kate, I feel like you just gave, watchers a business idea. I'm not going to own it. I feel like pinky maracas or something that could really go big when you just went and I just imagine little maracas.
Already one of your ideas
for the pinkies. What's that?
You told me about pinky maracas.
Oh my God, that's already
No, you told me, you were like, I think we should make pinky maracas.
Oh my God, I just want to dress
Second time you've talked
wow.
about this.
I'm gonna write that one down then.
Pinky maracas. Do you know what we're talking about, Christina?
I do. I'm following you, and I think it's a great idea. But
well, Kate, you like to craft. Can you just get that done in your spare time?
Pinky maracas. Okay, let's get to business, shall we?
yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Who would like to read today?
I think it's Lonnie's turn.
Yeah, I would love to read. From the reading of the book of The Art of Conscious Evolution by Kate LeMay, artist, dreamer, and conscious creator. We find ourselves in the Manipura chakra, that of the yellow solar plexus, and the card is Stillness. This is an image of spinning into stillness. The swirl represents the energy of uncertainty. The circle in the center is the place of calm. Listen to your gut. If it is spinning, observe this energy until it is still. Authentic power lives in allowing yourself to spin into stillness. Mantra, I allow stillness.
That's why we're starting with so much beautiful, creative, swirling energy this morning. We're spinning our way into stillness.
Love that.
It's nice when we do these things on purpose to be better teachers.
Everything is so on purpose.
Yes.
Planned out.
Very planned.
Impeccably when we do these shows. It's very true.
Kate, do you want to start with your artistic, the artists? Because even the phrase spinning into stillness, I feel like you were really deeply connected to this. I don't know if it was before the art or after the, like this speak artist of conscious evolution.
Yeah, this, we do all know this, right? So we know this feeling, which is the days, and I would say today I've had a lot of practice already in this particular activity, which I love. When we are still, we know what that feels like. And when we are spinning, we know what that feels like. And for me, spinning is it can be spinning of the mind, but oftentimes it's a spinning of the sensations in the body, right? I am feeling overwhelmed with X. I am feeling like I can't handle Y. I am feeling like fill in the blank, right? And when I allow myself to feel that feeling as its height, spin, think of that as the highest, biggest spin, down to where it slows itself down and it is no longer spinning. And then there's this sort of calm presence that allowing myself to spin into stillness is another way of saying honor my feelings, or another way of saying be in the moment, another way of saying listen to, I'm I don't actually have to re-paraphrase. I could just go to my own writing. So it just says, this is an image of spinning into stillness. The swirl represents the energy of uncertainty. So I think that's how I labeled the energy, right? Uncertainty. The circle in the center is the place of calm. So maybe, you know, another phrase of the uncertainty might be that when I am uncertain, I might have spinning from fear or lack of control, you know, that uncertainty. What a freaking word, you know, like, yeah, eat. I just want to eat that up right now. And then with it saying, listen to your gut, which, you know, recently in human design, I have realized is my great, well, sacral gut is my great teacher. So I love that I have directed myself. It is spinning. If it is spinning, observe this energy until it is still. Authentic power lives in allowing yourself to spin into stillness. I allow stillness. So I think that like there's a reference there to power. And like, I just this morning, it's so funny because I'm writing, in the club that I run, I visit a painting a week and a painting a month. And right now we're in the painting power. So stillness and power happening on the same day. Like that's a lot of yellow. That's not about will, but about power. And my question to myself, which I haven't even answered this morning, but I was asking in this letter to the community is, what is your definition of power? And then for me, I believe that part of that definition is about being in my full present self and not reacting because I'm not in balance or I don't know who my own energy, right? So this painting was essentially 2 backdrop swooshies, which are always, you know, I always like the, you know, that's just background color. But then this part's super fun and it depends on the tip of the like mechanism. Sometimes I'll dip like an end of a paintbrush into a jar of paint, wait for it to drip just to where I get the stream the way I want it. And I'll go, whoop, and so I'll get an even finer spin. And where it clumps, you can see where the spins clump, you get, you know, these thicker spaces. So this thing represents the spin, the bigger yellow. And then this guy here, this is the power of coming into presence. So these images to me are like, duh, don't you see it? But like that's what it is.
So there's a watercolor wash underneath first?
Correct.
Is that what's happening? And then
so
you've got
there's 3 watercolor washes
you've got
underneath.
54, you've got a giant piece of paper taped up into 54 little pieces. And each one you hover over, you do this wash, but even each one has a signature background. And then you start, did you drag? Like I love hearing that you're dipping the other side of the paintbrush in what about like these lines? And even that
watercolor also, and they're just like, so there's 3 watercolor backgrounds in here. There's just the wash, which is the first thing, like way in the back, just sort of like the yellow that fades to white. Then there's the crescent 1, crescent 2. Those are 2 layers where you let them dry. I do usually like water and then fill in with color, and that's how you get that fade. And then the top part is just acrylic paint. This is like the kind you get at Home Depot when you paint your house.
Wow.
Have you written down your actual process on each of these paintings, or you know them embedded?
I started that, Lonnie, when I thought I was going to like go to third world countries and have people help me paint these so they could support their villages, which is ultimately in the dream. Like that was part of this.
Yeah.
Was how can I help people, especially like in America, the help that I get is usually people that can't work. You know, they're on disability or have limited. And so I pay cash for the help, and I pay it to people that really need the cash because, you know, they can't work in our system or they lose their benefits on disability, right? That's baloney, right? So people definitely can work. They just can't work at the same way everybody else, you know, like what's defined as, you know, and our whole work structure is crumbling right now. So the vision was that I would map out exactly what is done for each and every painting, like use this particular color and do exactly this. But I did it for one. Root has the most done for it. You know, it has like the map of exactly the color and the brand and the da-da-da. And then as I progressed, I sort of kind of let go of, I'm so rigid with so many components.
Yeah.
And I've probably recreated spinning into stillness, I think it like all of them 3 different times, right? So this is like round 1. And then some people have another round where like the spin is a little lighter. Yeah, you'll notice the difference. If you have a spinning into stillness edition 1, spinning into stillness edition 2, and a spinning into stillness edition 3, you would significantly notice the difference between those 3 paintings.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, is it a I know you have to then pick your favorite somehow but this looks to me like an eye. Do they all look like that, or is that an accident?
Yeah, they all kind of looked like that on this particular one. And what I would say about these designs is that when I picked the favorite, there was a little bit of me that was like, okay, your top 10, and then narrow down to top 5, then narrow down to top 4 or 3 or 2. And for some reason, like in this particular set, it would be like, I would just grab them, not really super looking at when I made the book or when I printed the cards. So kind of one picked itself to be the favorite one, quote unquote. And for those of you that own these cards and own the paintings, you will absolutely know if you have this. If you look at your paintings and you're like, let me look to see if I own the quote unquote, I call it the Mona Lisa, right? Like the one that's going to be reprinted 9 gazillion times. So this spinning into stillness, like if you own, so these ones I've written on because this is the one we have, the error card is the spinning into the stillness card. They double printed this card in the deck. And one of them is energy and one of them is stillness, but the stillness is stillness. Energy is not even in the deck. It made it into the book and it didn't make it into the deck. They did a misprint and it's going to cost me $700 to reprint it. Just have to pull the trigger. But so sorry, these are both junky because I've written all over them. But if you are, if you own my art, look at your piece and see if you have the Mona Lisa.
Hey, can I just interject here for a second? I love that the Mona Lisa picked itself for this card deck, because this is where most of us are starting with spinning into stillness, is at this, little more voluptuous representation of the spin, right? And then evolving over time through the 2nd edition and the 3rd edition of the spin gets more and more refined. The spin gets less sort of cluttered. What a fabulous, I keep going into these workshop ideas in this podcast, but what a fabulous, day workshop this would be to introduce how to do this painting, let it be as clunky as it wants to be, and give people the tools to then go back and do this exact painting after a month of reflection or a month of a certain type of brief practice, and then go back, or a month of chakra balancing, or paying attention to, as we're going to talk about, coming into stillness, what that looks like for each one of us, and then do the painting again, and then do it again. It becomes like a whole interactive healing modality. I'm sure you've thought of that before.
No, not that. I love it.
Okay. It's obvious when you're talking. I'm like, wow. Anyway, how beautiful. And you don't have a 2nd or 3rd edition like within reach of your grasp that you can show us by contrast? Or is that what you were showing us?
I might. Hold on. Let you talk amongst yourselves. Let me just go see if
this is the portion where Kate skitters off somewhere. Find something impossible odds. Actually, Christina, as you were saying that, it sure does feel like something that we might be able to ask Kate to do at YTT 300, as you know what I mean? What a beautiful exercise.
Yes.
And to, another way to bring in art and beauty and
so
stillness.
See how this is thinner.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh, and different cut.
See how this is like a darker yellow?
Yeah, it's more mature.
This is the 2nd edition.
Yeah.
Okay.
And see the order. Oh my gosh, see that. Oh my God, I'm such a dork. See the order. See this? See how
Yeah.
it's like dark yellow, and then a light yellow, and then a dark yellow, and then a gold. So they're totally different centers.
Yeah.
See it?
Wow.
So you, and then the third round. Well, let me just see if I can.
Lonnie, I have to say, your imaginary play friends are really, really working it today.
I know.
Professional use in action.
You know how Mr. Rogers, had his land of make-believe? That's like, let's
Yeah.
walk over here. Yeah.
They're in this room, but like I'm not gonna be able to lie. But anyways, you got to see 1 and 2, and it's simply so it's my little bit of preference that I get to make decision in that moment, right? So I'm within a super confined here are the lanes. Like I know the image, I know the design, I know the basic structure, but I still get to make choice.
Yeah.
Refinement which is, for me, the absolute biggest gift in my life is that when I get to be that conscious of the level of refinement, I'm like, holy luxury, holy purpose, holy it just gives me so much joy to be like, oh, I'm going to spend that much time going so deep that I'm talking about shades within a color, or I'm talking about consistency within a paint, or, something's, and there's so many layers that you can go into where imagine this is enamel, imagine this is an epoxy, imagine if it's made out of metal, imagine if it's made out of clay, imagine if it's a sculpture that's the size of a house. You can take these ideas and they could become anything.
I I also love that they are literally the physical representation of conscious evolution. Each time you revisit these things, you consciously make the tweaks, which is what we're talking. So as art, life imitating art, right?
Well,
Consciously making the little tweaks.
Even more so, I would say the conscious evolution in the work is around, like, first they were paintings that I didn't really know what they meant. Then they were paintings that I put definitions and mantras on. Then I made another round because I thought I was going to sell those and keep the original set, which was the vision. So I like frantically painted them all again, but that was for my vision, like financially, these are going to provide you an income so you can do this work for a living. Then they became jewelry. Then they became a book. Now they're becoming a podcast. So like there's also
Workshops.
Retreat and workshops, right? They became a monthly membership group. Like there's so much conscious evolution within these paintings. And as you're touching, like there's the conscious evolution that's very aesthetic and like, here's the painting's evolution. And then there's the painting going into the world and engaging human beings as part of its evolution, which, you guys both know about my wild, it's crazy stream, which is the road van trip with 7 colored vans. That is going to be a year-long journey or however long, where we embody the things. And each week we dedicate to one of the paintings, right? A full week is dedicated to each painting. And I'm pretty sure it's going to happen because it feels like the obvious evolution in the pieces. And there might be other components that evolve. We also have someone, a community member in ours, like listening to these podcasts and pulling out text and doing that work for us, which is like the 2022 evolution of all this work. So, I think when you get, when you follow your own aesthetic or pleasure down rabbit holes and let yourself, without, you know, in the beginning, I used to be like, what a waste of time. Look at all this money I'm spending on this silly hobby I have. And I really got defensive if someone called it a hobby. I was like, this is not a hobby. This is my life, you know? And now I really realize, like, because I haven't quit my job, which was like always the other battle I fought, like, oh, the YMCA versus being a painter, like, oh, it's such a, you know, juxtaposition of time. Like, what are you going to give your time to? That what I've realized is that they go together on the journey for as long as they go, and then at some point one of them is either going to pull the other one off, or they just keep going together, and maybe they're stronger together, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe they merge. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think well, they already have, you know. I think I wouldn't be who I am. And like the practice of spinning into stillness is because I am very much living in our world every day, right? Like I work so hard in the world, and meeting to meeting, it's like, and mostly before the meetings all start, oh, the spinning, it's like, no joke. It's no joke, because just to be able to approach what you're about to go do and remain present in each segment of the day, in each moment you have, you regain your power moment to moment by the spinning into stillness. And that happens in a singular breath. So I feel like I've said so much. I'm done for the rest of the episode. Ladies, go to town.
I just loved everything that came through. And Lonnie, thank you so much for interjecting with that piece of this is the visual representation of the evolution of consciousness, the whole process that you're talking about, Kate. And if you haven't paid special attention to that and listening to this, I would sort of rewind and listen more closely. That is the process of our evolution, and the tool sitting right in the center of that, right? It's everything that you just said, from the process of making the paintings to how you apply it to your real world with feet on the ground, boots on the ground, right? That is the process of evolution. It's really exciting. And I mean, that's what we do. I just drew a little spiral when you were talking. We come from the spirit world into manifestation. And it seems like, okay, if we're going to come down to the center, we should be in stillness. But no, we're here in this body in the spin, right? And always seeking to find the stillness, always. If it's okay, if I expound on that for one moment, yesterday in our 300-hour training, which, by the way, when you were gone on your brief field trip, Kate, Lonnie Lonnie came up with it, but I totally am collaborating here, or colluding with her, volunteered you to do this workshop in our 300-hour program, if you're willing. But yesterday I was sitting down with the Yoga Sutras, still in the first section, and the ones that jumped out at me were 1.12 through 1.16, and it's all about this process. And you both have touched on like all the words and all the things. And it's all about how to still the patterning of consciousness to find the stillness, right? And so you don't have to be a yogi or have ever done yoga to understand that. I'm going to point to my Post-it notes. It's a choice. We allow uncertainty. We allow power. By allowing the uncertainty, we allow the power to reveal itself. The power comes through on our vulnerability. So we have to open to that place of settling. I call it a settling into stillness. It's a choice made through repetition. And you were talking about, you might not have used that word, Kate, but you were talking about and returning to this over and over and over, doing 100%. This painting over and over. I'm using this process over and over. Repetition builds mastery. So we can choose what we want to repeat. Do we want to repeat self-bludgeoning inside, or self-destructiveness, or do we want to repeat the conscious awareness in the center? But I'll just read this one. The Yoga Sutras were the first written recordings of yoga by Patanjali. And Patanjali may be a single person or maybe a group of scholars. We don't really know. But they're fabulous to read. They're so comprehensive, and you find a good translation. Both practice and non-reaction are required to still the patterning of consciousness. And practice is the sustained effort to rest in that stillness. So it's why we do the things that we do. It's why we have this innate inner draw toward peace, to balance out what is not still. And everything's in motion in our whole world. And if we realize that when we come into that, what Kate so aptly described as, sometimes it's a feeling sensation. The spin is a feeling sensation in the body. Sometimes we don't want to be present because we want to avoid looking at that feeling sensation of spin head on, because we're too busy going, that's uncomfortable. I want to distract from it and go as far away from it as I can, by feeding the pleasure pursuits or whatever, putting my head down and bulldozing my way through life. When really we have this, not only do we have an innate desire to find that stillness, it is us. It is the balance of us and our experience here. And so if we can spiral into manifestation, we can also, by going deeper, remember the yin, expanse and stillness, coming down into yang, activity, contraction, and manifestation here in this physical life. And if you keep going through the yang by going in, the yin is there again. And so the echo or the imprints or the reality of our stillness lives by penetrating through even further that lack of stillness or that spin into the I, as Kate has drawn here. And in her second edition of this painting, she showed how, wow, the evolution of the color, the refinement of the line, and the quality of the eye looks more focused, more clear, less fearful, more intent, right? So that is our process. And I just want to repeat that in case it's too intellectual or conceptual. Kate made it real and applicable to our lives. But we through repetition, whatever that repetition of practice is for us, could be the repetition of just going to be aware of the spin in my solar plexus, just going to face that and be with it and do nothing, not feed it, not analyze it, not qualify it, just be with it and breathe and allow it to settle itself. We don't sit at the edge of the pond or the water with the stirred up silt and force that silt to settle to the bottom. We have no control there over the forces of nature. Same with our own internal spin. We observe as the silt will settle, as the spin diminishes, over and over and over and over. And that spin is a reaction to something. And if we can say reactions are just ripples, reactions are not anything to over concern ourselves with. They're just reactions to whatever, to circumstance, to life, to ourselves, to what we pick up on in the world. So to still the patterning of consciousness and to practice that over and over. And that's abhyasa, by the way, the word abhyasa. Does that make sense? To ask if that makes sense. I mean, that's only the first couple sutras that I was writing about yesterday, but let me just read the third one, which is 114. It's not the third sutra, it's the 14th. This practice becomes firmly rooted, and I capitalize that, when it is cultivated skillfully and continuously for a long time. Again, that's reflected in Kate's paintings. Become masterful. Do not judge yourself for your distractions from being present with yourself. Try again. Meet yourself again and again. I mean, I get so excited about this. Our power lives there. Okay, I'm done too.
Christina, you had said, and I don't know if you were reading or if it was off the cuff, but if you could, I wasn't fast enough. Practice, the sustained, what did you had a great phrase, it was just very simple. Maybe you're.
Yeah, practice is the sustained effort to rest in that stillness. And I have to give credit where credit is due. That is a translation of 1.13, the 13th sutra in the first section of the sutras. That translation in particular is written by Chip Hartranth. And he did a translation of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. And there's so many different translations from kids' books to, multi-set volumes, I'm sure, but his book of translation of the sutras, I just particularly resonate with.
Thank you.
You bet.
Whew. Way to tie it in. Way to tie it in.
There's always a way. It's just.
I don't know. Did you seek that out, or you just happen to find the sutra that really, literally?
No, you know what?
Covers stillness.
It's like the yoga practice this morning. You said, "Oh, I needed that slower stillness," and then I didn't even know what our chakra was for today. The sutras that resonated with me yesterday were random, and I just said, well, we're kind of probably still in the first section here, those who are reading it, so I'll pull from there. I do think that this is the greater collaboration, but beyond ourselves, that pulls all these things together at the same time so that they all make sense. It's the connecting of the dots. That's all. So it's intuitive and random.
Yeah. Well, I am called to, so the ideas of stillness. I think this is maybe one of the most important cards to contemplate in terms of our current culture. I mean, our current meaning 2021, and maybe, the decade, but really, in the world of, as we become more and more aware of our distractions and the busyness and the chemicals, like, as information on different channels gets shared, amplified, multiplied, as individual voices rise up to interpret their own experiences of life and whatnot. So we don't feel alone if we're experiencing things as the way our brains work, our bodies work, both assume labels and shun labels. There are so many things happening in the broader world of humanity in terms of information sharing. And as Peter Diamandis, who's an incredible thought leader, who's part of the X Prize, he's chums with Richard Branson, like he connects with the best, Elon Musk, like he just hobnobs. He has a university where he summons like hundreds of the highest thinkers, Singularity University, I think that's what it's called. But he, in like 2012, I don't know what book, I don't know what year, but he has an amazing TED talk where he says abundance is our future. So I'm going to go there for a second. And the TED talk is lovely because it's 18 minutes with such clarity, where he talks about the rising billion. And what at the time he was talking about is that by the time 2020 rolls around, there will be 3 billion new minds connecting to the internet, connecting to the information of the consciousness of humanity by way of the internet. I mean, when you think of thousands of years of humanity and you realize that we have been living in a tiny chunk of time where there was an accelerator amplifier of ideas and information and collaboration available. Holy crap. Like, just think of that for a second. That is less than a decade where there is, we only have 7-8 billion people on the planet. Like, when half of them get invited to a big party to go down rabbit holes of ideologies, and there are good and bad parts of this as we're seeing that unfold. It also invites us, there's the dance of introspection, and then figuring out where we live in this culture and community, and where people who used to live in small towns and seek and maybe feel alternate lifestyles, whatever that means to anyone, suddenly find their tribe. And so there's this crisscross mosh pit of being who you are and wondering who you are, and ideas about who you are that never existed 20 years ago, in this kind of way. And then we wonder, like with that whole game, we are then seeing like more light being like on addiction, on like mental health issues, on, you know, struggles with figuring out how to bring it all in, let it all go, and spin into stillness. I mean, when we arrive to each day and wonder, like, when I wake up most days, am I crazy? Why am I feeling overwhelmed? Why am I feeling detached? Why? It's because literally more than ever in our entire existence, we are being bombarded, and the tools to process this stuff, they exist through like the sutras, through you know, really wise gurus and thought leaders in some ways. So the tools are there, but they are getting muddled, you know, in the clutter of all the things being thrown at us. So that is a lot of words to say that I think this card is is its own battle cry, and maybe a teacher and roadmap to what's happening. Like, more than ever, why we really understand we need to learn how to realize that we're not, and like we are tuned into an energy beyond ourselves, you know, through choice and through where we are in our human evolution. And we need to figure out how to use our system to draw ourselves into that place of knowing and stillness and real and connection to a divine source that is a, you know, a knowing beyond the chaos.
And can I just say to that, Lonnie, that is a much shorter step than we make it out to be. Like, to access that divine source beyond the chaos, of which, you know, chaos is divine, right? But the divine stillness that penetrates all motion, it's a shorter step than we make it out to be.
That's a finger maraca moment.
Yeah, and to just keep going a little bit, if it's okay with the sutras, one of the things that is written in that book that I really resonated with is, you know, what keeps us from settling in and diving through that chaos to find that stillness. And it is I can't find it off the top of my head, but it's the unrelenting forces of distraction. And I love that word, unrelenting. The forces of distraction are unrelenting. And they are as tenacious. They're a mirror for us. Just like we can look at the natural world around us and say, wow, that's a mirror of my inner world. The unrelenting forces of distraction are a tenacious, perfect mirror for the amount of force that we, force of nature that we need to become in order to balance out the unrelenting force of distraction with the unrelenting intention to allow that to settle, to dissolve and diminish so that we can find that stillness. And I think as soon as the ego self and the parts of us that are spinning in chaos realize they're not going to win this game, they'll throw their little tantrum. But as soon as they realize that the parent is present and that they're not going to get away with it, things shift pretty quick after that. So just, whatever your practices are, meditation, a walk in nature, crafting, which I'm really dying to know what Kate is crafting right now. I gotta know what's happening with the scissors and paper. Whatever it is, repetition, showing up, witness, observe while we feel. Remember that to observe ourselves does not mean that we don't feel. Don't confuse witnessing or observing with a lack of feeling. It's quite the opposite. It's to not judge what we're feeling, right? To allow uncertainty, to allow power. Kate, what are you crafting?
First off, I just want to say I love that you're using yourself as a human whiteboard. And I can't get enough. I am crafting power splats.
Oh.
So this is, hold on, I actually am gonna show you the little drawing. So this little guy, this is the design for the mantra card for power, which I'm making right now. It's pretty similar to Spinning into Stillness, but it's got a different message, which is that power is in the present. And so I was, what's so fun about this exercise of kind of these iterations and iterations and iterations of this work is like, right now I make these, the paintings all have these little like mantra cards. Like here's one for Root. This was
what can I just say what she's talking about? What Kate is talking about is she has a painting in the month club, and every month few lucky souls, myself included, get a box in the mail with an amazing divine download letter and a necklace and an original painting and a mantra card, all aligned with, and we connect in the Facebook group and we talk about how these paintings play out in our lives and in our awarenesses, and how the meanings infuse us and bring us together. And so it's a journey that's literally it's been a 4-year journey. Some people
we're 2 years in.
Yep. Yeah, it's 2 years in. We just hit the halfway point. It's pretty amazing. So yeah, so you do this craft.
So this was for safety. This is like safeties. So it says I am safe, and I like got to draw these. See those little teeny things? I drew everything. Then I like glued a ribbon, like a piece of string, and the back, like that's an old Kate LeMay logo there. So that was some kind of trash. And these are like the little red dots when people buy your art. That's why that's there. And there's like a mega magnet. So this was and then I like glued the strings and made them super crisp so they could go through these yoga mantra beads. This is a mala bead. So every single thing is like refinement, but it's a place to channel. And as you were writing, Christina, or as you were talking, or perhaps it was also as Lonnie was talking. I don't know if I'm going to be able to catch it. It's got to do with Liz Gilbert. Okay, I know what it is.
I know what it is too.
Liz Gilbert used to always say, Elizabeth Gilbert wrote Eat, Pray, Love. Big Magic. She's like one of my favorite authors. Like I can read her work. Because very few people I can like read their books. Like I can't, I like learning books. I like yoga books. I like self-help books, but I don't read often like for pleasure of story, and her stories really get me. And she talks about how a lot of artists will say, the only way I can make art is if I have quiet and I need the time to be present. And you will never have that. And even if you have it, you're still going to have the monkeys. There's never perfect time. So when you talk about, I think, and Christina, you might have to do a stitch for me to tighten this up because I'm going to lay something down, but it's going to connect to what you were talking about, is that if the creative process were a process of stilling, or being still to create, because you can't hear unless you're still. Like here's where like, why did I make 9,750,000, 8 trillion, 9 gazillion paintings? Because in the creation process, I felt still. The energy had a place to go. It knew where to be. And that focus and alignment, it just felt like I was like, and you are here where you're supposed to be on the whole planet. Like, this is your purpose, And so for those of us that have that urge, which like, we all have it. We all have this urge. It's just, you don't know, some of you know, like if I'm like, hey, what's the thing nudgy scratching you right now? What's the thing that like is saying, excuse me, can you pay attention to me? And like, can you do the thing I'm trying to ask you to do? Like, will you write the book? Please, will you make this thing? Will you, and you know what it is, except that it's really easy to be like, I don't have time for that. Well, everything's too busy. I can't. no. This is the practice. This is the practice. It is the life of yoga. It's just, this is the way it looks like for artists and creatives. And I can say this pretty confidently now because I feel like I've done enough of the practice of yoga to see the similarities. I felt it immediately when I met Christina. I was like, oh, I totally understand this, even though I had never done yoga before, right? Like I had like only gone to yoga class. I was running a yoga retreat that I literally only did yoga on that one day at the yoga
Here. And you loved it.
Oh my God, I love every time I was like, I will do this in my life eventually. It's now in my life. Officially 1 weekend. I am a practicing yogini, you know, and I'm getting, you know, I'm starting to understand that, oh no, this yoking of our mind, this yoking of our components together to stillness, where we can jump into timelessness, spacelessness, understand things at the deepest level that give us the most sense of hope. You know, all this strength and power is always in us all the time. We just like, this is what it was. The unrelenting forces of distraction that you mentioned, Christina. I believe they are there to serve a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're not there on accident, and evolutionarily we wouldn't be given these great forces of distraction if they didn't serve a purpose. And I think I'll lay down what my thought is on this, and then I'd love to hear what you guys think about this. You know, for me, the more I am able to ground into the spin into stillness, into my own power, spin into stillness to know this is in our yellow, this is in our power center, right? This idea is because the capacity for me to become 100% focused in that present moment is, I'm so aware of its power, and also I'm pointing at Christina, the whiteboard, like it is a choice, you allow it, and it's a lot easier than you give it credit to. But man, when you don't believe that about that moment, right? You might kill it in your capacity to focus and be in present and blah, 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 in these 17 areas of your life. But this one over here, you're like, woo! Like, you know, for me, jelly beans right now, the current moment, you know, I'm just really into jelly beans still. I can't let them down. But I know, like today I was like, is today the day you're going to decide? And I didn't write the decision. I was like, I thought about it, but then I got distracted taking a shower. So, you know, I think this is a gift, and I can't wait to hear what you want to say about that, Christina or Lonnie.
I want to say I went through the jelly bean thing recently, and I put out a bowl of them. I was just, I get attracted to the rainbow colors, and it's a childhood sentimental thing. And for a few days I ate them, and then I realized it didn't really feel good after a while. And then I left the bowl out, and my son walked by and said, "Can I throw those out yet?" Because he doesn't really eat jelly beans, because he was tired of looking at them. And I said, "Why do you want to throw them out?" And he said, "I'm tired of looking at them." And I let that work on me, and then I threw the bowl of jelly beans out. So I just have to say, I totally appreciate your jelly bean journey, because it's a really worthwhile journey. I don't think that needs a ton of stitching together, Kate. I think that you were really lovely with that. And I love that you brought in that there's a purpose behind the unrelenting forces of distraction. And if we neutralize, that's actually a fairly neutral term. If we neutralize what those forces of distraction are, and we don't judge our capacity to judge ourselves. So if we judge ourselves initially, that's pretty normal. If we don't judge the judge in us, and we don't keep feeding the judgment, we can start to look at those forces of distraction as simply that, as forces of nature. That do serve a purpose. They almost become a tool. And we're here for a reason. We're grounded in manifestation for a reason. Whatever we each think that reason is, you know, our own perspective. However, I choose to think that we need forces of tension in this world. First of all, it is part of what erects this entire reality and holds it together and holds it upright. Some might call that an illusion, but it's an agreement that these forces exist. So anyway, forces of tension and what balances that tension exist here. And we need that in order to grow. And so we need something to press against. We need something that helps us become strong. Gravity alone does that. However, you know, so every step we take, we're working our muscles against gravity, right? Gravity is also our ally because it teaches us how to let go. So there's a yang force and a yang expression and a yin expression. We've talked about that. But these unrelenting forces of distraction work on us from the inside out. And then we get to work on them from the inside out, right? Or from the outside in, inside out, whatever. But we're working from the inside out going, I am going to meet this force of distraction with my own, I know this one's not about will, but with my own sense of will. I'm going to build strength of repetition. And I'm going to allow these forces to help me to grow, because the only way we can grow is if we feel discomfort. So I always say in yoga practice, on the mat, right, or off the mat, if discomfort is afoot, if sensation is afoot, that's a good sign. Don't run away from resistance. On the mat, seek resistance, because that is where we get to play. We get to work up against that. And there's some beautiful, delicious gem in there, or key, because that resistance is protecting something. And it's there for a reason. We needed to create that resistance, that tension, because that is what was required for us to meet life. So it served a purpose. Now it lives in our home. We're going to treat it like a guest and a sacred guest. And then we're going to see what wisdom it reveals. So it's the same with the forces of nature. If we're walking on this good red road of life and we're saying, okay, I'm here to learn my life lessons I signed up for. Here are my particular forces of distraction at play with me. And I'm going to get to know them as my ally and my friend. And I'm going to work through those places. There's that. The last thing I want to say before going to Lonnie is, you know, not for nothing, we spend a lot of time, I notice, I think, in yellow every time we hit it. This is only our second time, but I think we spent a lot of time there the first time around. I think it's time for me to remove uncertainty, because I think we've worked through uncertainty, and just say now we're down to, that's my post-it on me, allowing our power by choosing repetition. This is the bridge from the quote unquote lower chakras, right, to the upper chakras, the bridge to the heart, the throat, the truth, satya, the third eye, and the crown. All this intuition, all this love, all of it, it's through all the chakras. However, solar plexus is our power center, and it's our place where we come into, I'll always say this, right relationship to power, because that's a big one. If we don't balance our power with humility by admitting to ourselves what our forces of distraction are, which humble us and erode us and wear us down to vulnerability. And vulnerability is the key to our power. It is our greatest power is our vulnerability. And we know what that means when we allow ourselves to get comfortable in our vulnerability, or to get comfortable with the discomfort, if that is the case for you. I used to be really uncomfortable being vulnerable until I sat with it long enough, and now I welcome it deeply, because we're open. We become the open vessel, and that is the key to stillness. That's my stitch.
Oh,
all right, it's a lot. We're all like, you know, we're talking a lot today.
Can I ask one question before you go, Lonnie? What did you just say? The only way we can grow is
we meet discomfort.
It's discomfortable. It's uncomfortable to grow.
I think she said the only way we can grow is if we meet discomfort. If we something, you said something.
Yeah, well, the only way that we can grow is if we, if we're, we're not going to grow if we're comfortable, but if we allow discomfort of, working with those forces of nature or those unrelenting forces of distraction or whatever it is that rubs up against us that makes us uncomfortable, if we face that in that discomfort, that's where we feel our edge and we begin to grow. So I don't know exactly how it came through, Kate.
Good thing it's recorded.
Yeah, we can rewind.
We'll never figure it out.
Okay, now go on.
All right. Well, first I'm going to risk Kate being like, that was so profound. And I have a phrase that works really well for me. I'm just afraid that you're going to hate it, Kate, or think I'm trying to be, but it really feels okay. And because I bet most of the people listening are women, I think they're going to resonate with this. So when you asked, Christina, to stitch it up, I was just like, spiritual episiotomy. I had to do spirit, like bring it together. Like when you birth these big ideas, you gotta stitch it up to so that's it.
Do it as episiotomy, like when you give birth and you rip open and they sew you back up.
Yeah, they just help with making it like intact, so you can
have pleasure.
That's it. So I was like, oh man. But the other, everything you just said, the phrase, I don't even know if this is true, but thank you for reminding us, Christina, of the importance of tension, discomfort, contrast, because the phrase that contrast offers context. I don't know if that's, I haven't had a chance to sit with it, but I think that's the truth, that, with contrast, we are, we have a frame of reference of how we're feeling, how we're being, what we can change, what we don't need to, what we're willing to be still with, and what we need to let go. And in that world of repetition building mastery, that is the place where nuance lives. This is the first year of my life I'm appreciating repetition. I didn't understand until I started, God bless you, the daily morning practice that starting in October, that where I was just so broken coming off the first wave of the pandemic stuff. I just didn't know which end was up, and without yoga studios to go to, and I never liked home practice because I didn't have a space. So anyway, so showing up, and then you crazy yoga teacher, you had us 5 days a week doing the same series. I'm like, what is this? But with each day, I would realize I would personally arrive with an entire different set of skills and challenges, and so and breakthroughs and limitations. And it didn't and then it just becomes really fascinating. What's affecting this? Is it my sleep? Is it what I'm eating? Is it my physicality? Is it my movement or lack of it? Is it hormones? Who cares? I don't know. But each time you arrive in a similar posture in life or on the mat, you get to feel it in the present moment, brand new, if you're willing to take that moment in awareness. And I love that. I'm still a fan of adventure and freedom and trying new things. And yet I have for the first time, really, thank you for helping me appreciate the newness of repetition when you are committed to it.
And there's something there's something about repeating the same thing over and over and over so that we can see how we operate against that. So the austerity of us, and I do a lot of intuitive practices. My own personal practice changes every time. I teach a lot intuitively, but I like to also teach the same practice and encourage others to do some kind of sameness in your practice so that you can see exactly what you're saying, Lonnie, which is how do we change? How do we come up against that? How do we progress? What are we letting go of? It becomes a nice yardstick, to measure against, which is empowering, I think. And then, mix it up intuitively. But I am just in my own evolution after the past months. I do practice myself mostly daily. I do give myself a couple of days here and there to not practice the yoga asana, but I'm getting back to the place of wanting to teach again like that, 5 days a week in some form or fashion at some hour. I don't know when, because of that exact place you're talking about, Thank you for bringing that in and your own experience and around that.
Yeah.
I raised my hand when you said, I love that phrase, contrast.
Offers context.
Offers context. Without contrast, there's no way to gain perspective. We get perspective. So I love that you said that. And I totally agree with you. Perspective to me, I often use the word healing elixir. Perspective to me is a healing elixir. When we get context through contrast, we can see ourselves. And that perspective is what enables us to not become the thing that we are wrestling with. We get some perspective on it and it can become manageable within the larger container of who we are. Pure awareness. So I love that.
And the other thing that came through, and this is from a bit ago, but just, we have this year dedicated to the exploration of these paintings, on a week by week basis. And, as you talk about the van trip or however that manifests, however it manifests, I feel like the natural next, like what I would love to put out there, Kate, and it's of course up to you if it feels resonant. But I want Kate as Bob Ross. I want Kate once a week to do videos of how to do the paintings. Do that and have them.
You've been asking for that.
I
so now
know.
you're doing it publicly.
Well, listening to Christina,
I just need a setup. Like I just need where does the camera go, and I need a light, and
don't worry about that right now.
We'll help you with that, Kate. We'll help you with that.
Can you help me? Because that is it. That is what is holding me back. I used to have a clementine box that I cut a hole out of that I would stick the iPad in, and I could, but when I moved studios, the ceiling is slanted in this room and I can't.
Oh, no. Not
right?
Not a fancy video. I mean, literally think of Bob Ross.
You just need it so that it can see the painting. Like when I can't figure out how to do the camora angle.
Oh, don't worry about that part. If you're in, we'll figure out,
I'm in.
Could be, yes. So that's because I imagine it's going to be on the freaking road next to your van. It's time painting with Kate. Because,
we are at
we'll get it.
The river.
Yes. Because here's the, because you'll have a couple, whatever. I see it pretty clearly if you a few different iterations of the, just like they do on cooking shows where they're like, here are all the ingredients and I've already made this one so you can see what the final result is, but here are the steps. And I love it. I think people, because your paintings are so
easy to
both methodical and fluid, both, I think people would love, because they're not painting faces or painting anything that you can't be wrong with the Kayla.
It's kindergartner painting. That's what I call it. It's kindergartner painting. But you get more refined in the practice, and you very easily get better, which is why when I make, X number on a page, 54 on a page, which is so cool because it's half of 108. That's how many I get. I get 54 paintings when I do the series. And that repetition, you just get better. And it's built into the process. So everything we've talked about, I actually, the whole time I'm like, I can't wait to listen to this episode because it's so rich that, and especially for me. So the other thing I just want to say to both of you, I'll probably get super emotional right now. I'm just so grateful, for you doing this with me, because it is such a great gift to me to be able to talk like this, even though I know you could pick any container, we can pick the sutras, we can pick the nadis, and the yamas and niyamas is what I meant, not nadis, but you know what I mean? Like we could pick any framework to jam on, but the fact that you guys are willing to, you know, play with me and this art and like let it come in, and like just I saw Kendra's comment about the work, and then Lonnie, your comment on top about the art. Like, who'd have thought people would even care about listening to the painting techniques? Like, to me, it's like humbling at the deepest level, you know, and I'm so grateful for both of you so much. Pinky maracas. Pinky maracas.
I'm not sure I know how to play
Christina,
those.
bring us home with what are our post-it notes?
Okay, the one that fell on the ground is grow. And
Oh,
I
it
told
must be plant.
myself, I told myself in the beginning that to pay attention to the one that falls on the ground, because that's going to be the one that wants more attention. So that's it.
Bro.
I just want to go back to the beginning really quick, and that is that our power lives in the choice to be present with what's uncomfortable, right? To be present with the uncertainty. If we allow uncertainty, and if we choose to be present, yoking into the present, we will find our vulnerability and our power that lives there. We know this. And I had a dream this morning, it was in the wee hours, that I totally forgot. And I got so excited when you were talking, Lonnie, about the band, because you both keep talking about the bands. And I had a beautiful, brand new, but old, but it was brand new, Volkswagen bus. And it was white, it was bright white. And it was one of those dreams where I said, I came upon it in a parking lot. Some woman was living in it, which is probably some version of myself. And I realized that I hadn't stopped to pay attention to enjoy it and to see what was in it. And I got really excited that I had this bus that had beds in it and functionality, little kitchen, and it was brand new and shiny. So I already have my bus
Oh,
on some
so
level.
good.
So
And the
it's
fact
a
that
white bus.
white, I mean, I love that.
And that's it. So
And I'm laughing because I'm like, oh, because we're recording this weekly, we're going to get to go on my hormonal journey. And what's so incredible, I said to Lonnie this morning, as I was thinking about the cycle of like clean the bowl to wholeness to, right? Oh, we're back there again. And I'm totally witnessing the emotions I'm having, or the depth of touching emotions in such a different way just by doing the recordings, because you can't be like, I changed my mind, we're not going to do this week because I feel this way. Like, I knew how I was feeling when I woke up. But what I would say is that this is going to help provide perspective, that not every week feels like this. And for those of you, you know, on this journey with us, like, you're going to notice different energy showing up in each episode, right? Even around topics that if we recorded them in a different week would have different energy. Like, you just happen to be reading about these yoga sutras today, and Lonnie always is bringing in like, who's showing up, like Lionel Richie, now Peter Diamandis, and like, it's just like you're I love that what comes in, which happens to own, you know, we're like a snapshot on today, a snapshot on the energy of the moment, a snapshot of the energy of our bodies. And what a gift, what a freaking crazy, like, hodgepodge gift that this thing gets to be recorded. So for those of you listening, I just want to thank you for letting us be part of your lives. Like, it is such an honor for us to know you, because most of us know you. You know, we don't have a lot of raving fans that don't know us. So this is to the people we love and love us, and we're so grateful for you, because we do this for ourselves, but I hope and know that the things that resonate with you, like, this is not an accident, right? What gets called up and called in and shows up and vibrates in you, that's what you get to take home today. Don't forget to take your little notes like I always do when I'm in these shows myself. Like, what is resonating with you? What are you going to take away from this experience? And, yeah, we're grateful. So I'm grateful for you too. I'm grateful for our audience. Anything else you guys want to chime in on?
Kate, just to go back to your beautiful, vulnerable gratitude around, you didn't think anybody would really, be interested in hearing about how the paintings are made. I love that you said that, because I think that the things that are, that we take most for granted, that are easiest for us, or maybe not, maybe they're effortful, but there's passion involved, we take it for granted. We don't realize how this might actually be helpful for someone else. And every time I hear you talk about how the paintings are made, there's so very much in that. There's so many metaphors. There are literal, applicable descriptions of the process that happens. So I also want to just do a special thank you to you for that.
Yeah, and Kate, you've said it 1,000 times. Artists show us the past and the future, and that they speak, you speak in color and shape and paint, because the words it's too many words, like too much left to interpretation. But when you personally show us the meticulousness and the ideation and the creativity and look at the words that come up even as you explore what's happening, like the focus and the themes that happen in just the act of creating. You remind us this is why it matters. You remind us it's the process, not the destination. You give us visual shortcuts to powerful ideas that, like we've said 1,000 times, we could spend decades talking about it and never touch. And now we have little we have little representations of these gigantic concepts. So I love it. I get my kitty committee gets out. I'm like thank you.
Kate, you mentioned Snapshot, and is it okay to just interject here, because we were talking about it after the last session. I was asking about this. When you mentioned a snapshot in time that these podcasts represent, I just want to put out there that the thing about the chakra readings, if that's okay.
Yes, put it out there. Yes, please. Yes, please. Woo.
That's the exact description I use of a reading, where we sit together by Zoom or sometimes in person, and do a reading on your own chakras and where they're at, where each energy center is at. It's an intuitive read, but it's pretty illuminating, and it is a snapshot in time, but it's based on your condition up to this point, places of excess, depletion, purpose, gifts, all kinds of stuff comes through. And so if anybody's interested in that, I just wanted to put a little note out there that those are happening pretty actively again. And it's
so
just a matter
alexaflows.com is how you would.
Yeah, you can message through the website, or you can alexaflows.com, or personally email me at christinaalexa1@gmail.com. But I think you can email me also through the website. So thank you. It's a humble extension. It's hard for me to even put that out there, but they're coming in so strongly right now. And I've been working with several people again, and the process, it is effortless, right? It's like, that's what made me think of it too, with your work, Kate, and your descriptions of the painting and the podcast and the snapshot in time. That is part of effortless work. That is not work, it's really beautiful. And it gives perspective. It's illuminating. That's all. So thank you for allowing me to.
And it's such a gift to work with you. For those of you I know that have worked with Christina before, it feels like the biggest present of your life to get time in that space with you. And then, if you can get eventually, if she's back in person, and I'm sure you do remote as well in healing, and there's different, so all the modalities that, Christina Alexa is a phenom that I'm so personally grateful to have connected with. And this space for sure is an appropriate space to share those bits. And so, don't ever hesitate, Christina, to interject and be like, don't forget, I'd like to say this, because I know that people are listening to these and getting all the way to the ends, and they're still yearning for additional levels of support and or clarity or, you know, engagement with this stuff, right? And it's super fun, like, especially like if you're looking for a present to yourself, or, you know, you can let your spouse know like this, or partner, like, I would like this gift, I would like a reading, because they're awesome.
Yeah. And the fact that, like what you said, like, because you're dealing with intuition, the fact that you are offering access, not just offering it, but like willingly
Yes.
open right now in your life journey to be available. You're not going to be available,
Right.
you know, like this is a window of time. If you
Right.
can jump in and have access to Christina
Right.
in this way, like it's a magical, soulful, beautiful, deep, profound experience in collaboration of awareness.
Thank you.
Okay. I love it.
Thank
Well,
you.
ladies, amen, namaste.
Woo!
Pinky
Thank you.
maracas. Post-it
Did I
note.
do it right? Did I do it right?
You did it right. Yeah, you can't really do pinky maracas wrong.
No,
We love pinky
I'll
maracas.
do a pinky maraca training.
Lana's gonna figure. I think they exist. I think we're gonna find these. If anybody finds any pinky maracas, put it in the comments. All right. Until next time, ladies.
Love you all.
Love you too.
You too. Namaste.
Thanks for listening. Find us on social media at The Chatting Chakra Show and at www.katelemay.com. Check back weekly for new episodes where we are always celebrating enjoying the journey.